Good morning, everyone. I'm Nyoka. I've just recently joined E at CBS, and thank you everyone for coming to the meeting today. With my email, and thank you for coming. I'm going to share the screen now with you, which will be, hopefully you see it. For coming to the third running week successful. Hope to see you in the weeks coming ahead. Wow. So it's going to be 2 hours long, some ground rules. If we could just our speakers on mute when we have speakers talking so they don't get disturbed. We have the last hour, which will be networking. Do we have Sam here already?
Hello, yes you do.
Hi Sam, nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you
doing? Hi. Sam has offered to share with us some information she has for us. She's with WorkWest, and let's get starting. Sam, would you like me to put on the slide for you right now? Or
yeah, no, I think that's better, just in case I have any difficulties, because at council we're not allowed to use Zoom, so I'm going through my internet browser, so just in case it causes any complications, I don't want any disruptions.
So there you go. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. Sam, on to you.
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Hope that everyone is well. I'm Sam. I work for Ealing Council. So I work in the Employment Learning and Skills team as an Employment Learning and Skills broker. I'm just going to be giving you a bit of an overview as to the types of services that we offer at the council within our department, a useful tool that you can use for your job search, which is on our website, and the ways in which that you can get into contact with us. And then I'll take time to have any questions at the end. So I'm going to whiz through what it is that we do so that I can sort of open it up to any questions and have time to accommodate it, because I do only have about a 10 to 15 minute window. So this is the website. So the name of our sort of brand, if so to speak, is WorkWest. So we are part of Ealing Council. We do work for the council, but the sort of umbrella that we sit under is WorkWest. I'd probably just advise anyone listening to put yourself on mute to avoid any sort of audio disruptions. So this website can be sent, I'm sure, disseminated to you by the Ealing Voluntary Community Service at the end of the session, but if you are able to take note, it's ealingworkwest.com. The reason why I've sort of delivered the talk in this way is because rather than doing it in the format of a presentation, I can actually just present using our website, and then it already allows you to become familiar with it. So within our department, we have a range of services. So we've got adult learning, which delivers accredited and non-accredited training and qualifications to those who are over 18. There are plenty of courses that are free. There are some courses that do have concessionary rates, so discounted rates, so to speak, if you fall into certain eligibility groups. And quite often, if you are engaging with our services and there's a qualification that is required for a particular role, then it's very likely that my service will also fund it. So we've got adult learning, we have apprenticeships, in-work support and recruitment, and careers information, advice and guidance, which is what I'm going to be going over today. And the website has changed since I last had a look at the website, which was only a couple of weeks ago. So the adult learning delivers training qualifications. I'm not going to go too much into it because there is a website that you can go and view all of the course curriculum for the entire year, so every academic term, and it will have all of the start dates and course fees attached. Because it's quite a lot of courses. It's everything from sort of pre-entry level right up to university level, up to level 4. You know, there are industry-led courses as well, ranging from childcare to qualified training, qualified teaching assistant, you know, IT, project management, counselling. There's quite a wide range. First aid we started delivering, and that's pretty much everything around adult learning. With careers information, advice and guidance, which you will be able to go onto the next page below. So this is the home page of the website. If someone's able to just click on the first tab on the left. No, that says on the menu on the left. Yeah, that's where I'll be directing people. So if you scroll down.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all right. I can just carry on talking. So careers information, advice and guidance is there to give you basically information about your careers. So whether or not you are entering into the job market, whether or not you're looking for a change in your career, or whether or not you just need advice on what training and what steps you need to be taking to get into your career. Everything from sort of entry routes into different career pathways down to qualifications that you would need that would be essential or desirable, right through to helping you effectively know how to apply for jobs, and preparing you for the labour market. That is, all of our services are free. The only charges that are ever attached, as I mentioned already, is just some of the Ealing adult learning courses. So if anybody wants to have any advice on their career, you can go directly to the team. Every one of our services has our own direct service inquiry line that you can call between 10 and 3. And they also have an email where you can sort of self-refer yourself as well. So you can go directly to that service. We also have a service, if you go down to apprenticeships. So yeah. So for anybody that is interested in apprenticeships or would like to know more about how to get into apprenticeships, as I'm sure everybody knows, there were years ago they lifted the age restrictions on apprenticeships, so quite often now they're just 16 plus, unless it's a specific role that requires a young person. Generally there's no upper age limit anymore on apprenticeships, and apprenticeships can be a really fantastic way for you to get into a career. For those that you know are not a big fan of formal education settings, generally apprenticeships will have like a 20% of your working hours consists of being in college. So it's sort of there to earn while you learn. So if you're working on a Monday to Friday week, you might do 1 day a week in college working towards a qualification that's fully funded. And then alongside that, you'll be gaining experience in that field on the 4 days that you'd be working. So apprenticeships can go from everything from level 2 right up to master's degree apprenticeships. So even if you have finished college and you've already got A levels, you might actually want to consider going into like a level 4 apprenticeship, for example. Not all apprenticeships are for, you know, low every entry level positions. You know, there are many degree level apprenticeships that you can do. So anybody that does want to get in touch, again, if you go onto the apprenticeships page, you will be able to get in touch with apprenticeships directly. The apprenticeships team within Ealing do source apprenticeships both internally and externally. So quite often there are opportunities within the council to get into an apprenticeship, and equally they also work with local employers and generate apprenticeships locally. The next thing is, can you go on to Are You in Work? It's below apprenticeships. So I would like to think that the council are one of the only sort of organisations that provides a 360 service wherever you are in your employment journey. For anybody who is working, this is actually a service that's there for you. So if you have managed to get into part-time work and you need, or even full-time work, and you know you've maybe come away from volunteering or getting work experience or having taken a gap in your work history due to personal reasons or for any other reason, and you've managed to get your foot in the door in a job, there is actually support out there to help you get a better job. So quite often a lot of employment services is targeted at those that are unemployed. Our in-work support service is basically for those that are earning less than London living wage, which is £10.75 an hour. I think national minimum wage might have gone up again, but to my knowledge it was last £8.75 an hour. So if you are earning less than London living wage, then which on a full-time basis is around 22,000 a year, which is, you know, quite a decent salary anyway in and of itself, then this service is for you. So it can link you potentially with assisted or fully funded training, alongside having an employment learning and skills broker, someone like myself, that will actually be working with you to either work with your existing employer to help you get a better job, through maybe taking on more responsibilities, through being able to sort of get a promotion if they do have the capacity to, or alternatively, they can help you find alternative employment. But their goal is to get you into a role that's paying above London living wage. So for those that are ready to take the next steps in their career, or they are wanting to earn more money and you are already working, then this would be the relevant service for you. Again, it does have its own direct landline. It has its own direct email. It should be pretty user friendly. If you are already working, this is where you can find out the information as to what we do, and their contact number and the email is also there. Would you be able to go on to the "Have you lost your job"? I'm not a big fan of the page name "Have you lost your job?" because some people don't have a job. For me, this should be "Are you looking for work?" Now, this refers to our job brokerage service. For those that don't know what job brokerage is, it's basically recruitment, and that's the service that we offer to help you get into work. And I personally deliver that service. So for those that are already in a position where they maybe have an up-to-date CV, they already are fairly confident in their interview techniques, and they're just not hearing back from employers or securing interviews. So it basically would be like having a one-to-one recruitment consultant. If anybody's ever worked with a recruitment agency before where they've been able to source you work, so this is for those that are sort of ready to enter into the labour market. What we do is we are able to get you directly in front of employers. So I will go out and engage with businesses and organisations, mostly in Ealing, because everything that we do is only for Ealing residents, and obviously being the council and having our own agenda to sort of support our borough, we will quite often only work with Ealing-based employers. And if we are working with employers outside of the borough, they will be neighbouring boroughs, so generally within West London. What I then do is find out businesses and organisations that have recruitment needs, and they then, you know, it's my job to pitch to them our services, because our recruitment services are free, and I will then manage their vacancies. So that could be anything from skipping an application process and them shortlisting through to CVs, right through to agreeing that people can go into a work trial and then maybe have an informal interview, or potentially going straight into an interview setting. So it eliminates that entire process of needing to look for work, you know, needing to apply for jobs and not hear back, because we are able to just put you directly in contact with our employers, and increase your chances of getting a job. Now, in terms of the vacancies that we manage, if you go down to the tab below on vacancies, quite often a lot of our vacancies are advertised on our website. So for example, document controller is, you don't have to click it, but that is a job that I'm currently recruiting for at the moment as part of a project that I'm working on. If you keep scrolling down, just to give people an idea, some of the jobs that you'll see, for example, like Hounslow, Twickenham, we do advertise for other providers who come to us as part of our free service as well. So not all of the vacancies there are managed by ourselves, and quite often we also have vacancies that maybe we aren't able to advertise because we're confident we can fill it, and that would be what I would call like the hidden job market. So it does allow you to maybe access opportunities that may not actually be advertised online, if we are exclusively managing them. Just to give you a quick insight as to some of the work that I do, and then I'll open it up to questions. Most recently, I've worked on recruiting for the NHS in response to COVID. So I've worked on, I was lead advising on a regional recruitment drive for West London as part of the mass vaccination rollout. So in total, 2,700 people have been put forward, for which I believe about 2,400 have been shortlisted and their applications are being processed. Now, normally, if people do know that the NHS are the biggest employer in the UK, it's quite difficult to hear back just due to the volume of applications that they receive. So we've successfully been recruiting for COVID-19 vaccinators, COVID-19 administration support staff and front of house staff. And for that, there was absolutely no interview. So people were able to come through to myself. I would then pre-screen you, meaning that I would just make sure that you're suitable for the role and that the role is suitable for you, because it works both ways. And then from there, we had an agreement with the NHS that you would go straight onto like the onboarding training that you would do an induction, so the e-training, and provided that you were successful in the training and all of your pre-employment checks went through, which they only needed references for the last 12 months, which for the NHS is quite lenient, the job was then offered straight to candidates. Another example with the NHS is that I also had like general vacancies that was outside of the COVID-19 recruitment, and that was everything from entry level positions, band 2 healthcare assistants, band 3 administrator staff, PA to directors, right up to senior manager levels, a volunteer manager role, which is managing an entire the trust of volunteers in voluntary service for the NHS in West London. And again, even though they were interviewing, they were for permanent jobs and there was no application process. It was just a case of CV, shortlisting and straight to a virtual interview. So that's just to give you a bit of an idea as to the work that we do. It would be quite difficult to give you an overview in 50 minutes of absolutely every service. But because I do think that the website is pretty user friendly, if you need careers advice and guidance, you click there. If you need apprenticeships or training, or if you are looking for work, you just click on the relevant tab and you can just email or contact us directly and get in touch. So that's basically it. Hopefully I didn't speak for too long. I'm very aware that it's coming up to the 15 minutes. Do I have time to take some questions at all?
Of course you have, Sam. Anyone has any questions for her? Can I stop sharing the screen or would you need it?
No, you can stop sharing the screen.
Does anyone have any questions for Sam? I think it's Francisco there.
Yeah, people can type. Oh, hello.
Hi, Sam, very quickly.
Cool.
How is your schedule at the moment in terms of appointments? You probably have a list already of people that come in and all that. How is your schedule right now?
So, I mean, obviously it varies. So I can't really speak on behalf of the other services. All I could say is for any of the other services apart from recruitment, just email them and get in touch. If we ever do not have the capacity to support people, we will always then let you know of local services that are available that we can signpost you into. In terms of recruitment, it doesn't really work like one-to-one appointments. So if you are just in a position that you're just ready for a job, and that's it, you don't need any support to get a job, then you are able to just register with us. And what we can do, obviously, we'll have 1 or 2 appointments to understand what you're looking for, you know, the level of experience that you've got. We'll obviously look at review the quality of your CV and amend any quick changes or refer you to a partner to write your CV for you. Once we've had those couple of appointments, then it's quite simple the way that we work. You will be able to visit the website to look at any vacancies that we've got advertised live. Usually the pay, the job description, the closing date's usually advertised on any of the posts. And we also send out, once you've registered with us, you'll be brought onto our resident mailing list, and we regularly email out the vacancies. So even if you're not having one-to-one appointments, because that isn't really what it is that recruitment does, we're just more concerned about getting the employer and matching the candidate to the job, rather than giving you one-to-one support every week. So it depends which service you're referring to. But for example, Ealing Adult Learning have courses all year round. Careers advice and guidance and the in-work support one are probably the main ones that offer that one-to-one support. But for recruitment, and if you are just looking for a job, simply just get into it. And like I said, you will be regularly contacted, even if it's not over the phone, for an appointment, but via email and on our website with the vacancies, and any vacancies that you wish to be put forward for, you would just email myself or my colleague Mark or Hazeline and let us know that you want to get in touch for that vacancy. And then we will then obviously need to just check that you're suitable for the job and that the job's suitable for you. And then we would put you forward. You know, you can put yourself forward for like 3 or 4 or 5 jobs at one time with us, provided that we've got jobs that are matching what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's okay.
Lisa?
Sorry, yes, thank you, Sam. I think you've probably answered my question. I just wanted to clarify with the like your recruitment service, it's not just for Ealing residents, is it? It's for neighbouring, or do you prioritise Ealing residents first?
So most of the time, and in terms of our eligibility criteria, you have to be an Ealing resident,
Right.
just because we will only offer it to our local, you know, to our residents of the borough. However, all of the local authorities within West London have a similar function. So if you did belong to Hounslow or Hammersmith City and Fulham or Brent, you know, get in touch, because we can always refer you to your relevant local authority. Again, even on the website, you know, for example, there are times where we can't fill a vacancy, you know, if there are too many vacancies, or if the role itself is a bit niche, then we will always put on our vacancy job description whether we're willing to open it up to out of borough residents. So if you saw a job that you really thought you were meant for, 99% of the time we'll put you forward, but technically you're not eligible to register with us for that ongoing support.
Okay.
So the vacancy that you think, I really want to be put forward for it, put yourself forward, because we very rarely turn people away. But in terms of registering with us for ongoing support, we would signpost you to your relevant local authority who offers a similar service for free.
Okay, and with regards to apprenticeships, if a young person is at college now and still doing their online learning due to finish in July, is now the right time to start applying?
Most definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Most definitely. So the apprenticeships team work with school leavers. One of the target groups of people that they aim to offer their services to is school leavers, college leavers, because you know, they may be people that don't have experience yet and they need their chance to gain experience. So that doesn't mean that it's limited only to young people, but most definitely it would be the right time to get in touch with the apprenticeship team. And for those that are younger than 18, we do also have a youth offer delivered by Connections, who are based internally at the council, that support those that are younger than 18.
Thank you. And that would be again Ealing residents, but Hounslow have a similar service.
I don't know if they have an apprenticeship service, but I do know that
I think they do. I think they do. Thank you.
All of the councils that I do have mentioned though within West London definitely have an employment service.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who has something? Yes, Ian. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I want to ask you one quick question, which is I'm working for the Women and Child Initiative organization, which it is I help before the mothers in local area. And they have big problem, which it is mostly they work as a carer and assistant teacher, something like that. But as it is happening this corona, they are not working at the moment, and you know, council, they want to pay the rent or add some amount of money. And when they said we don't have work, or you know, nothing we can pay it at the moment, they're pushing them, and they're saying you have to find the job, and they don't know where to get the job. So
okay. So, well, they do now.
And give it to them. That kind of.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best thing that I would do, if you have taken note just of our website, you can send that over to the, you know, to the people that you're referring to. For example, I work on care. That's sort of one of my main sectors that I recruit for. So, literally, as of next week, I'm going to be focusing on care employers. in the summer last year, in response to COVID, the demand for carers increased.
Yeah.
So there was a project that launched, quite a high-profile project called Proud to Care, and last summer I think I generated about 70 jobs in care, ranging from HR to account assistants, maintenance offers, registered nurses, care assistants, senior carers, residential, domestic, quite a wide range. So again, I would just tell them to direct themselves to the website, and they can call or email Monday to Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Richard. You're on.
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry for joining late, and apologies if you've covered this already. What's the situation with regard to promoting the London living wage? Is that an integral part of the offer that you're putting forward? Because I'm of the view that any government or government-funded services should not be promoting work that is below the London living wage. And that should be quite a fundamental thing about preventing poverty.
Okay, so in terms of London living wage, I think it's like with anything, we follow the law really. So the law is what is ever the minimum wage is. We will always try and, work with employers to try and become disability confident, or to try and be, to increase their diversity and inclusion, to be open to, candidates that maybe many would consider further away from the labour market. For example, if they do have gaps in their employment history, we will always try to have that influence over an employer to become a London living wage employer. However, it isn't a legal obligation, and our priority is to help unemployed residents into employment, and there will be many residents that will be willing to go into work that is paying less than London living wage. So the answer is both yes and no. We do advertise opportunities that pay less than London living wage. But we will always try, as part of our engagement with businesses, to encourage and to promote the London living wage scheme. I can't hear you. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Sam, for answering and giving us a lot of information. I'm sure many would reach out to you now. Is there any more questions that we have for her? Or can we move to the next speaker?
Is there apprenticeship for older people as well, like a 60 plus, if they are just or over 60, they want to do something part-time, things like that, during the age, and also a less to do as well?
I definitely don't think that apprenticeships mean less to do. That's the first misconception that I'm going to give you, because you're both holding down nearly a full-time job and studying towards a qualification. So I definitely wouldn't want to allude to any sort of idea that apprenticeships involve less work. As I mentioned already, most of the opportunities will have no upper age limit. It will be up to maybe 65 of working age. In terms of part-time apprenticeships, they're not very common, part-time apprenticeships, I'll be very honest. But if you were wanting to find a job that sort of matches your lifestyle, the level of work that you are happy and comfortable to be doing, then I would really advise that maybe you consider having careers advice as opposed to an apprenticeship, because you've also got to consider that most apprenticeships paid less than minimum wage.
Right.
So I would probably consider getting in touch with Careers Information Advice and Guidance, CIAG, because they would be the best place to look at your skills, your previous experience, your current situation and to advise you on jobs that may be suitable. If you want, I'm more than happy to give you my direct email and I can have a conversation with you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's Pedley, P-E-D.
Yeah.
L-E-Y-S for Sierra.
Yeah.
At ealing.gov.uk. When you do send me an email, please reference this session so that I do know where you're coming from. And if you do have a CV, whether it's up to date or not up to date, please attach that in the email as well.
Yeah.
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 Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sam, for coming today and sharing this information with us. I'll just a small reminder to those who've joined us today, if you could put down your name, email address, and your organization in the chat, it would help me collate information for later. I'd share the screen for our next speaker.
No, I have to leave.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam, for the time
thing, but I have back-to-back meetings. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy this session.
Thanks, Sam.
You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Parul will be speaking to us on COVID awareness. She's a safeguarding officer with EHCVS, and on to you, Parul.
Hello. Do you want me to put my slides up, or have you got them as well?
Sorry. Oh, do you want me to do that?
If you've got them. If not, I can do it.
Yeah, I'll have to open it. If it's not opening at your end, I'll
okay, well, I'll just hi everyone. So my name's Parul, and I'm the safeguarding officer primarily for Ealing, but obviously work with Ian across Hounslow too. I was actually talking, who's on this call, Shanji, the other day, and interestingly, some other conversations came up around communicating to our community about what happens after you've had the COVID vaccine. There seems to be a little bit of confusion still. I just want everyone to know I've sent, or Nyoka sent some attachments which I got from the NHS, which are videos in, I think, 13 different languages that you can share with your groups, with your communities, which explain the importance of the vaccine jab, separating the fact from the fiction. And so hopefully you've all got that. And I've been through it, and I think it's really good and well presented information. So what I was going to do, have you any luck?
Just a second.
Don't worry, let me do it. If not, let me see if I can do it. Hold on. Let me do this. Share.
Just once.
Are you all right? You done it?
No, getting there. Sorry.
We
just had the previous slide on, so it didn't have
okay, don't worry. Then let me see if I can do this.
Okay.
Does that come up for you all?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So basically, and Shanji, you can join me with this one. One of Shanji's friends basically had the vaccine. I'm simplifying this story, by the way, but basically had the vaccine and thought, yay, great, now I can get back to normal. And as we all know, hopefully that this is not the case. So this presentation I'm doing is actually the bleeding obvious. It's stuff that we should all know, but don't necessarily. So basically, let's talk about the vaccine. I'm going to read a bit from the slides. I think the first thing we need to know, and we all know this again, and I'm just expressing again the bleeding obvious, but it's not, COVID-19 is not like flu. An average of 10,000 people a year die of flu in England and Wales. So far, we've had over 115,000 people die of COVID-19. So let's not compare it with flu. This is a message I think it's really important to get across. Okay, so the COVID vaccine, you can all read as well. It reduces, it's not 100%. Once you have your vaccine, it reduces the chance of you suffering from COVID. So you can still get COVID, but hopefully you won't get it so severely that you end up in hospital and you end up in intensive care. So it will help you get if you do get it still, you will hopefully get it a lot less. This is the same with every vaccine. This isn't typical to COVID, it's every vaccine. But obviously there's a lot of concern over the COVID vaccine. It has been well tested. We know it's gone quickly. I'm not a doctor. I can't answer to those questions at all. And then again, like all medicines, no vaccine is completely effective. And there is still a possibility that you can get COVID after you've had it. And as I said, but it hopefully won't be as severe, which is why it's crucial that people do get vaccinated, and we need to get these messages across to our communities. So you can't get COVID from the vaccine. I don't know much about the Oxford one, but I know that the Pfizer one isn't COVID. It's just a clever thing they put into us to basically say, oh, that's a spiky like thing, let's attack that. So you can't get COVID from the vaccine. But we don't know yet whether when we get the vaccine, if we're still infectious, and we don't know yet whether we can pass it on to other people, right? This is the crucial bit. So we still have to follow the guidelines. We still have to do all of these things. We have to protect ourselves, and we have to protect our family and friends and our colleagues. So carry on after the vaccine. You probably will, we don't know yet, but for 1 or 2 weeks, probably should actually keep yourself at home, because we don't know whether you might be infectious. Practice your social distancing, still wear your mask, still wash your hands, and still continue to follow the current guidelines, which at the moment is national lockdown. And there will be, I think it's the 22nd of February, Boris is going to let us know the Prime Minister is going to let us know what's happening. So just a little bit, and again, I think most people do know this, but how do we spread it? We spread it through droplets that we breathe out through our nose and through our mouth. And also if those droplets land on any surface and we touch that surface, then touch our face, touch our body, that's how it's contagious. I'll put a couple of really useful links here that I would really advise you to have a look at. So Shanjit, I know you're making a Valentine card, aren't you?
I've done, I nearly made it for you.
Card. Thank you, my love. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, the other thing is when people have injection, they're not taking proper, they're not sitting indoors.
Yeah.
Because we're delivering a lot of food to the local people as well from the food bank. What they do is they have their injection and they start going out and about. And then a few days later, they are down again with the temperature and all that, because they didn't take precaution in the beginning. Another thing which is really dangerous, when people have a COVID, after a few weeks, they think I'm recovered. I would say after 4 weeks, they start traveling by the transport, the London transport. So basically they are dangerous to other people because they are traveling by bus. I asked a lady, how are you going to go to hospital? She goes, I've got appointment. Oh, she goes by bus. So I said, you just have a COVID, at least give yourself at least 80, 90 days to recover 100%. So you don't pass it on to other people. So people are basically don't have enough knowledge how to, okay, I'm better. It doesn't mean you are better. You have to protect others as well. Put the other people's first when you are living within the community.
Thank you.
And this is
really
especially
helpful.
for all of you, my golden heart and
thank you, gorgeous lady. Very appreciative. So is there any, and clearly I'm not a doctor, but are there any questions that anyone's had? Is there anything that people want to raise where they've noticed in their community? Are there any other messages that we should be getting out?
I think, yeah, go on.
Yusuf.
Yeah, I was asking, I didn't hear that bit the average death of every flu in November statistics as opposed to the COVID, but that one, if you can tell me the statistics, because there's a lot of information around that there are people saying every November, every flu, there used to be that certain of death as opposed to today's statistics. That is one thing. And the other thing is, if the question some of the vulnerable groups or ethnic minority are asking is, why I take this vaccine and still it's not effective and safe? If it cannot prevent COVID, why people they're asking, why should we talk that?
Good. Yeah, and that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I don't know what your views are, but personally, I will have the COVID vaccine because if I do get COVID, I've got a much better chance of not dying. So I don't really want to die at the moment because I've still got quite a lot to do with my life. So I am taking the COVID vaccine. So it really is. I mean, it's for us, I think, to persuade people that I don't know if anybody here has lost anyone to COVID or anyone's had COVID. If someone's had COVID, it would be really interesting if you could tell us about your experience with it. Lisa.
Yeah, so I caught it just after the new year, and it was just a really weird sensation. You know, Saturday's fine, then I went to bed, and then all of a sudden I started to come over with these really bad pains all around my body and headaches and in my joints. And I then on Sunday put a mask on. I went to the drive-through centre in Twickenham. You have to keep your windows up, and they literally, you know, have all a mask on and PPE. They slide this thing through, and you do it yourself. Because I think I've had flu before, and it just it felt different. And what was excruciating was the pain in your joints around the creases, like the elbows and the knees. I think that's probably.
Hallelujah. Thank you. Hallelujah.
Look at your throat.
Could we turn, or can we all mute while Lisa's talking? Thank you. Sorry, Lisa, carry on.
Yeah, so that was really painful. And I had like a really severe headache, but I was literally knocked out for like 10 days. And my daughter is a midwife, and of course that made her not be able to work, and then she knew that they would be short staffed. So when they say, you know, stay at home, save life, protect the NHS, I was tested and I was really careful, and maybe I caught it from a supermarket because at the time, just after Christmas, you know, they didn't do the same lockdown precautions they did initially, where like you had to queue up and they were only allowing a certain amount of people in. It was just like, it was really hard when you were buying food to be able to avoid people. And I think everyone over the months just got complacent, because I really do think I also caught it at the beginning, because I was I'm a swimming coach. I was at a swimming competition. You're, you know, mixing with about 300 to 500 people if it was in a big venue. So and I came down here, and the reason why I think I got it, and the symptoms were very different this time round, and there was no kind of track and trace and testing yourself after at that time, because it was early March. I had the loss of taste and smell. I had a really heavy, like, cold, not coughing too much, but and then in the summer I developed like this eczema rash around my neck, and I'd never had eczema before. So that was the beginning. And then this time round, it was incredible tiredness as well. And it was very strange, because it's as if I felt the virus starting in my head and then trickling down my body. You know, I then was getting, my throat felt weird, shooting pains in my throat. It's as if you could feel this virus attacking each part of your body. And, you know, and I was one of the lucky ones, because I didn't need hospitalization, but that was another thing. I got lots of chest pains and pains down my left arm as well. So you could have think, oh, if I hadn't have known it was COVID, I kind of thinking, oh, am I actually having a heart attack, or, you know what I mean, is there a clot somewhere? So that was quite strange as well.
Lisa, thanks so much for sharing that with
right.
us. That's really helpful. Yeah, Shanjit.
I also supported a lot of victims of COVID attacks. After the COVID attack, people ask their experience. A lady said, I feel like the bus has been gone over my body. So basically she felt dead and she just didn't have energy to get up at all. So basically we've been picking up a lot of tonics or things like that from the pharmacy they requested for, and deliver it on their doorstep, food on their doorstep. And then we also try to protect ourselves same time as well. So those people who were COVID victims, within 1 week they started picking up themselves. Otherwise, if they didn't took the precaution and take anything extra to boost themselves up back, it would have taken them at least 3 months to get back into on their feet again.
Thank you so much. Yusuf, I'm really curious, within your community, are you anti all vaccines? So you don't vaccinate against anything?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, not that you know. I'm just interested to know.
Or anybody, yeah.
Yeah, in your community, are you just anti all vaccines, or what, or is it just this particular vaccine?
No, there's a lot of misconception around misinformation. There's conspiracy theory, and then we as an organization we have to recommend, you take it. That is the view of the country or the world. You take it. That is the only thing you can give, but that's a lot. Even the government yesterday, they were saying the other day that 2 million people from the 65, I don't know, from 65 with the key workers, they didn't take it.
Well, if you look at when you got your Zoom link, there was some other leaflets attached. I found a really good one, which I've seen before, but I find it useful, which is regarding the vaccine, separating fact from fiction.
Yeah.
And it's really worth looking at that and explaining it to people who are fearful, because I know I'm quite interested. I'm mindful about people's fear about the vaccine. But, I've given my children the measles, the mumps, the rubella. I've given my children vaccines when we've been to India. And hopefully my children are now adults they want to have the vaccine. So it's interesting that there's so much conspiracy because of social media around the vaccine. But, it's worth asking them, have you had any other vaccines? It's no different.
In the young age, we had it, and we have that information. But this thing is, for me, I personally attended a lot of meetings from ethnicity to anything broader, and then the people, the older people, even they were asking, why is it linked to travel? Why is it linked to infertility? Why is it linked to this? The people they are saying, then the government is the way, like they say it's not compulsory, but in Venice the need it's like compulsory, because they're taking all the key workers take the injection, or all the 65 take the injection. So these things you don't know which is which.
Well, as I said, I think it's the
way the message, they misinform a lot of misinformation, because they say people, the other elderly people, they were asking from Westminster. This meeting was initiated from Houses of Parliament. There are so many MPs, lords, and then they were asking, why should I be asked if I'm traveling, do you have a vaccine? Is this, do I even, at least even whether I take it or not, am I not entitled to my freedom of movement? Why should I be asked at the airport, example, why do you have a vaccine? Or you don't go to this country, or you don't go to this country? They asking who dictates these things. And nobody should answer, even the politicians, they can't answer. They will say, oh, take it, this thing, you save life. That is the thing they say, save life, this. And then if you go to the other side of the medical professionals, especially even there are some European countries who are not taking. And then if you go to that side, the doctors, they say, is it effective? Is it safe? They say it's our concern.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing.
just being mindful of the time, I have Vincent who's put his hand up. If you still have a question, because we also have other speakers who are waiting in line.
I just need to respond two things here. One is a question for Parul and one is responding to Parul. Parul, your first question was on the, I had people in the family who had COVID, plus I support the local parish, and I've seen a lot of deaths for COVID, and it's quite morbid, you know, when you go and give them the funeral support and all those things. So it's quite serious. And I know the impact of it for the community and how we are responding. But I just wanted to say that the slides, what you have shown, are amazing. And I think this is something which, you know, once it's shared, we would be sharing within our community, because the misconception is that this is the, you know, the eureka moment, right? You've got it and you can go out and do anything you want, but that's not the case. That it's just a miscommunication that needs to be solved. And I was really looking forward for some material, and I was trying to do it from the scratch, but I'm so glad you saved a couple of hours today. So that's very important. So thank you for sharing. And I think, you know, what Yusuf was mentioning, these are the questions which even we are getting, even in our community, you know, be it whatever. I'm not sure if we'll be able to solve it. I'm not even sure if we'll have answers to all those questions, but for the greater good, we just need to focus on whoever we can for now. And the slide pack which you have done, oh, it's amazing. So thank you for them.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I appreciate that.
Thank you. We also have more information in different languages, also for the elderly in larger print. So you can take that information from our website. I've sent the link in my emails. We're developing a page on resources, especially for COVID vaccine. We're trying to add on information which Parul has sent us on post-COVID support and how we can go on. We've got doctors, we've got COVID champions, videos of them which you could share with your communities, and you know, spread the awareness of and get rid of the fear of taking on the vaccine. If we have no more questions for Parul, can we move on to Francisco Lima, who would be speaking to us next? Francisco?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Francisco, and I'm leading a Portuguese-speaking community group in Oslo. Today, I'm going to speak a little bit about this impact of the corona in terms of employment and other areas that the community has been suffering from. During the last 11 months of this pandemic, people from ethnic minority groups were more likely to have COVID-19 diseases and also more likely to experience severe outcomes on infection, including death. Yes, we have been talking about the death of some members of our communities, and it is a compelling moment when you see so different families being affected by the same thing. And the Portuguese community itself, the Portuguese-speaking community itself, is part of this group. This lockdown and the measures that have affected communities more than others, it's largely due to a social inequity or such as housing, occupational risks, and access to healthcare. Close to us in Oslo, we have a big employer, the Heathrow Airport, and is the community probably bread and butter. I'm going to use this as an example because I can have more information regarding in terms of the insecurity of their financial insecurity, and that the families have gone through it. This financial insecurity, on some example of these cases, have an impact on the community itself and the families, and we had to adapt a different way of surviving or supporting each other. This goes in accordance with our own culture of caring and supporting one another. So the speaking Portuguese community during this period of COVID, these 11 months, have suffered not only because of the death, but because of the employment that they are majority or great percentage of it have it. All these majority of these residents have employment in critical areas, as catering, as hand luggage, is a very manual work they do. So with the COVID and the furlough process, they end up to have to rely themselves only on the basic salary without having the possibility of overtime. That was a way that they top up on their salaries to support the expenses they have within their families. Without the possibility of overtime, the amount of money have dropped, and others were working on other industry, as it was catering, and they were allowed to have a top up on their income in terms of tips or service charge. That was removed out of their daily or monthly income, forcing them to live in a more constrained way. In terms of the graduation, as months go by, I saw a lot of families suffering in terms of, first of all, the interaction within the family created is more pressurized, less money, more needs because the children were at home, more meals served on the daily basis. So they end up being on these very stressful and pressurized environment. As a result of that, we saw that mental health issues start to pop up and we start to see habits that were maintained in control, like alcohol and drugs. They start to raise up. I say that not only because of the fact of being isolated, but because was a consequence of socializing habits that people had of getting together on Sunday and doing some sports or going for walks or creating an event. So all these force the community in one way to be a more critical stage. So right now, on where we stand, the only thing I can really hope for is that we will be able, as a group, we will be able to support a little bit better the quantity of Portuguese-speaking residents of Oslo. This is all what I had to say.
Thank you,
This
Francisco.
has been my
Thank you. Francisco, I'm sure you would have been present for the information provided by Sam, and I hope this, the information she gave out would help you in passing it on to the community where they need support in terms of employment. Lisa, you had a question for Francisco? You had your hand up there.
Sorry, it was just to add through my experience as well, not personal experience, but I know people where housing has been an awful problem, and there's the accommodation, and there's still in Hounslow, there's still lots of beds in sheds, and with that becomes a lot of health problems as well. And it just still in Hounslow, residents are still being exploited, and it's those residents where English is their second language. And, you know, there's this just unconscious bias that's what's still happening. And about if you speak another language and your English isn't your first language, then you're somehow not worthy and not intelligent, as it were. And there is still a lot of that barriers that people face. And I know some really intelligent people who are, you know, carers and these so-called, you know, these lower paid work, not because they're not intelligent and capable of doing other work. It's just that they've not been given the opportunity, they've not been valued, and they've not been just given the opportunity and the time to grow and develop their personal skills, which is needed. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Lisa. I totally agree with
I
you.
totally understand you, you know, in communities where English isn't, and the barriers you face. And yeah, I just want to say, not everyone thinks that you're, you know, not worthy, you're unintelligent, and just because you can't speak English, and you know, you have a lot, yeah, just so many barriers to face. You have a lot of prejudices still to, and it's more subtle. The way it happens, it's subtle. It's not, I wouldn't say it's direct, but it's just more subtle. So that's all I'd like to say. So.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Richard, you had something for Francisco, or?
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation, Francisco. I'm keen to understand more about the Portuguese-speaking community in the borough. Could you describe a bit more in terms of the size of the population, and whether that is families or single people, perhaps where that's distributed across the borough? Is it concentrated in particular wards, or or right across the borough? And also perhaps whether there is issues about insecure immigration status, and how that might affect people accessing services, be it council services or registering with GPs, and sort of what your ask of voluntary sector groups would be to help you support your community.
Thank you for your question, Richard. Well, the Portuguese-speaking community within this borough has been here for over 30 years. So, but the fact of their isolation is what actually do not help on identifying it. They are a community that stand with their own, and they avoid as maximum as possible to present an identity. And that has an impact. You were speaking correctly on saying the GPs, if people have access to them. Some of them do, some of them don't. There is a lot of education in terms of what criteria or what benefits do they are entitled on by being residents on the UK and taxpayers. In terms of the job that I'm trying to do right now by supporting them is by bringing as much information as I can and translate it in their own language, because some of them actually, as Lisa was saying, have a language barrier. So therefore, they have a profession that actually is not their own. I give you a small example. Is a chap working for the airport on security, that he was a manager for McDonald's for 20 years in Portugal, and he's been 5 years living in the UK, and actually he does do the transition of his own profession. I have others with master's degrees that didn't follow up the situation of getting their certification translated to English. So then therefore, they will be able to apply jobs in their own areas. In terms of families or quantity of residents here in Oslo and Healing, probably, we don't have the exact numbers. But I give you a small example. We tried to open a football school in a period of 3 months, and we had 60 to 80 children, just gathering on Sundays. We have a group of football players within the borough that every Sunday they gather 80 men. So majority of these men are married and they have children. So in one way, I cannot be specific on terms of the data, because we're still going to have to work with census, as Newton will be speaking about in a minute. So in one way, this is something that I'm looking forward to see, because I'm trying to advertise this vehicle as much as possible. I hope that these answer your questions.
Thank you, Francisco and Richard. Does anyone else have any questions for Francisco?
Hi, it's Lalit. I just want to ask quickly, Francisco, have the people in the community been applying for the settled status at the minute?
Yes, that is a conversation that we've been having for quite a while now. I think that majority of the people have applied for the settlement status, and the information was passed along. And I can say that great quantity of them is already registered. But of course, we carry on advertising in case people are not aware.
Yeah, I think that's quite important because there's lots of organisations, including ours. I mean, Hounslow's got its own, looking to support hard to reach complex cases with, but people who are vulnerable, to help them to make the applications. So if you do need some further advice, or you need to speak to one of our advisors, we also provide training and tier 2 support for other people working with people.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the deadline's quite approaching quite quickly. So 30th of June is around the corner. So if you, I just want you to double check, because we're trying to reach out to everybody as far as possible.
I am going to put my email address on the chat. If any of you would like to ask any questions or follow up on this presentation, please feel free.
Thank you, Francisco. Richard, is there something else you wanted to say? Have your hand up there? Okay.
In terms of deadlines, due to the lockdown, there are some people who are abroad and they wanted to apply online about this, status, and then they're having very difficult after the pretext. They're having a lot of difficulties, and so many people are still away. They travel to elsewhere. We got that inquiries. Yes, if somebody can help or can give us what can be done. Well, because I never knew that before they were saying they could apply abroad, but they're saying after the pretext, you can do it now. That's a new information that I got. And in terms of Francisco, I think, Francisco, what we are talking now, and we are talking about, even some people are talking about post lockdown and whatever post corona. But what we are talking now as a community is what we didn't realize before lockdown, and then we realized during this pandemic, and still we are talking post corona and post lockdown, and still we don't have solution. For example, I remember before we were talking about language barriers, disability barriers, employment barriers, and now you can imagine, health barriers now. There are so many things: health barriers, community not interconnected, agencies not interconnected, a lot of things. For example, health. Health is, it's a lot of issues in health. We realize now, because the NHS is not only unable to cope with the pandemic, but there were before a lot of issues on health, sex health, a lot of things health, it's disfranchised. So now we are coming post pandemic. We don't have issues because this is small organization who are doing frontline services, and we realize their job during the lockdown, they will still face the same problem after the lockdown. What incentives do we have for this small organization who are doing the frontline services? This everything is double. Information is double, and service need is double. Problems are double. So all these issues, I think, as a community, we need to come with a solution, because we can't always talk. This is the problem. That is the problem. It goes. But during the pandemic, everybody realized what these key workers, or frontiers, or small organizations, or most people who are affected are ethnic minorities, most data, ethnic minorities, and then still, I don't know, for post pandemic, I mean, as a community or charity or government or local authorities, I think we need to have something, incentives that we can always, come together and find solutions where people, the healthy ones, can find jobs. Those who are affected now, and some people are talking about rent problems. We had homelessness before this pandemic. It is going to be double, triple this time. So a lot of issues on the ground.
Yes. The only thing that I would like to add, and this is what really broke my heart, is that I have three residents that actually end up being in such a difficult stage that they left. They went back to their country, they went back to their family, because it became so difficult for them to actually stand in here. And as much support we try to give, they come to the decision that this was not, they didn't have the ability enough to stay here, or the capacity. Yes, that's all for me.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. A small reminder for those who've not put in their email ID and the organization along with your name, if you could do that in the chat, please, for us. Our next speaker, Vincent Fernandez from the Beehive Social Enterprise, will be talking about the rework program and his employability projects that he's working on. Over to you, Vincent.
Hi, everyone. In the interest of time, I'll try to finish it in the next 10 minutes if possible. Okay, so a bit about, do I have, okay, I'm just going to share my screen as well. Apologies if some of you have seen this before. So a bit reminder of who we are. So some of my words are gonna be similar to what Francisco has mentioned, and I'll tell you why shortly. So the Southwest London, predominantly Hounslow, Feltham, etc., which is majority are BAME of the BAME community. Of course, it consists of a vibrant community of various ethnicities, and recently a high influx of Goan migrants. Now, who are these Goans? These Goans are from the state of Goa in India, and they have used the Portugal route to enter this country, i.e. with their Portuguese roots. So there's a vast community of Portuguese, Francisco, which is other than the actual Portugal people who have traveled here. So these are the Goans who have come via the Portugal route. Now, majority of them are also blue-collar workers, heavily dependent on Heathrow Airport remains, as I mentioned it on all my calls, that Heathrow Airport is the base, and companies surrounding Heathrow Airport are the ones who have been giving jobs and sustaining the community for so many years. We never realized the importance of Heathrow, or we always maybe didn't appreciate Heathrow to what it was. Now an emergent need has emerged due to COVID-19. It's the disproportionate impact is on everyone, especially members of the Southwest London, particularly those on 0 hours contract and living in work poverty in terms of job losses, access to benefits, and access to secure and decent work. Now, this has also impacted mental health and led to a lot of attempted suicides, which has come through our community. We have seen it, we have been part of it, supporting those families. And the core issue at this for all these problems have been the job losses, right? So our survey, which we did the Beehive did a survey, and this survey was done months before the council did the survey, clearly pointed out around 58% are without jobs and 13% are at the risk of losing jobs. Now that number has increased. We are talking about 60 to 70% job losses. And I'm going to share some quick slides with you all. This has been, so 2,000 families impact has showed that more than 65 to 70%, their financial situation has been impacted, the household financial situation. Rent continues to be the major challenge. Of course, with no money coming in and with no source to additional funds, rent has been a challenge. And that's led to, a lot of DV cases, domestic violence cases, increase in alcohol, substance abuse. It's a vicious circle, and it is biting everyone. It's sort of a ticking time bomb. We all are sitting on it, and it's impacting everyone. We also asked how long would it take for people to come out of it. Now, bear in mind, this was done last year. More than 60 to 70% believe that it's going to take them more than 1 year to come out of the situation, right? Of course, 2% or less than families believe that it's been good for them. This COVID has been a sort of blessing for them. Why? Because they didn't have to travel outside for work, so they have saved on travel cost, and they've got more of family time. So although some people may have got something good out of it, majority are impacted, and it's a very drastic situations for a lot of families. Okay, so this is what the BI wanted to achieve, a 5-pointer question, what is that we wanted to accomplish, how would this make society better, what are the key steps, and, how basically just a go-to plan, right from our boardroom, which there's no boardroom, of course, it's a Zoom calls, and then go out in the market. So we did all that, and we have been going out in the market, creating, I'm ignoring some slides, yeah, so this is what our objective is: providing meaningful jobs, eradicate 0 hours contract if possible. Now that's, in the words of John Lennon, I'm a dreamer. So did he say that? Okay. But, so at this minute, I just want to imagine that we can go and stop 0 hours contract, but if not, at least minimize it. Provision of decent work for the youth, young adult, BAME and the BAME community, especially BAME women. On the job training, and that's the point which I'll connect with the rework training shortly, and to challenge the unjust challenges that, or rather just to point those unjust challenges which the BAME families are facing. For example, we had to step in. So I've done my law, and I've got good access to a legal team as well, which we went and helped families where the furlough contracts were impacted. These are where you had rogue agencies which would take the lion's share of the minimum hours and pay them peanuts, and at the same time, mess around with the furlough contracts as well. So this is where we stepped in the past, and it's going well. We have supported more than 800 families so far, which is equal to 3,000 individuals, but we are not happy about it because there's still a lot to do. This is the service offering we have, providing skilled, unskilled, or semi-skilled workers, a sort of agency working, domestic help carers, training opportunities, digital skills, and I'm going to speak on that as well. So 2 points I said I'll speak later. One is the rework, and one is digital skills, and e-shops as well. So these are the various projects which are running, and this is a non-exclusive list, non-exhaustive list, because we have got a lot of projects going on. Sorry, I'm rushing in the interest of time, but so first, let me speak about the rework program. So there's a lot of employability projects and a lot of employability trainings which are coming up. But one of the points that Francisco mentioned, and I think that has come across through why we all are here as a community, is lost in translation for many, many families, especially BAME families where the language continues to be a barrier, and how we can overcome it. So there's a rework program that we have partnered with Risago and Caritas and few other groups who have come together to create this rework program. So it's 6 online sessions to get people back into work. Participants attend 6 sessions over Zoom. Okay, sessions are approximately 2 hours long. Of course, it's free to anyone who's 18 and above. The focus is on building skills, interview skills, presentation skills. Be there to build their confidence as well. We'll also help with their CV making, we'll help them with CVs, mock interviews. We'll get some industry experts to have kind of interviews with them and prepare them for the real life outside the mock world. Job application support, building confidence. And one word which I'm a big believer in it is the resilience, having a strong resilience for all of the families and participants who are going to join. And the group is around 8 to 12 people. So we're trying to keep the group small. Of course, this is the pilot program we are running, and we are planning to have more projects such as these. But let me make this also clear that this will not provide jobs at the end of the workshop. No, I don't want to give that false hope. This is more, the intent is, however, to at least prepare them to be job ready. All right, so when they go out in the market, again, I'll touch on Francisco's points where he mentioned that somebody had 10 years of McDonald's skills and, they did something at Heathrow, or somebody who wants to swap jobs. This is a moment where they could use those skills to build themselves up and go out in the market and hopefully do something positive. Again, the next question will be, are there jobs out in the market? Not really. The market is really, really harsh, and the market is really impacted. And of course, you can see jobs coming out, but let me also warn you that for each jobs, you got more than 65 to 75 applicants or more. So although, you may see the spur of some openings coming up, let's not get too excited, because there's still a lot of applicants looking for the same kind of job. So either you need to be, either you need to move out from that particular field and jump to another field, That's one technique. Or just pray that we have got more jobs. Or the third point, which was spoken a couple of weeks ago on this call, was the Hounslow Pound, where the council and most of the agencies, including myself, we are convincing a council that it needs to be the Hounslow Pounds. Buy local, spend local. Go for the local agencies, give an opportunity to the local teams, to the local community, so that the jobs remain within the community, and at least it gives an opportunity for the community to rise together as a team. Now that's on the rework program. I'll quickly connect this session with also digital inclusion, because I mentioned briefly on the digital inclusion projects. Now, before I start the digital inclusion, let me give you some figures. Now, this is from Age UK and a lot of other agencies. So this is out there in the world. I mean, if you want to do more research, but it hits right in your face, right? And it hit us more during the pandemic. As soon as the pandemic hit and the outer world was closed, it's sort of a new realm which was open, where you had to connect with people at home. Zoom, of course, it's become easier for us now, but when it launched and when it was the Skype call, it was not easy for people to connect. Let me remind you again that a lot of people have never been spending so much time on their phones, other than whatever they had to do, where now you have to connect their videos and the voice calls and connecting slides, presenting. It was a new technology to many families, and the digital exclusion remains clearly for the elderly and for people who are not technical savvy. Also, if you cannot be part of the digital world if you do not have the digital tools, which again is a sort of vicious circle. If you do not have a laptop, if you do not have a mobile, there you go, you're out of the game, right? Then how do you apply jobs? So we tried, how do I put this? So we bought in a lot of refurbished equipment, because I've got a few connections with the tech world. So we bought in a lot of refurbished equipment. We wiped the data off, we created those units, and we have given them to a lot of families as well. Of course, we are, from a funding wise, this is not something which is viable to continue, but there is few equipments around. If somebody needs it, it may be at a very cost effective option, but the challenge continues. Again, few more figures. I don't want to bore you with figures here. All I can say is that the vulnerable young people, the elderly, and people who do not have digital equipments continue to face the wrath of digital exclusion. Again, the last point, putting together CV, even to attend rework training. Now, this is quite a funny one, right? I'm asking everyone to attend the rework training, but in order to attend the rework training, they need to have the digital tool sets. So if you do not have digital tool sets, you're out of the game anyways. So here we have told families that fine, if you cannot attend, let us know why. We have contacted them, and where possible, we are trying to loan them a sort of equipment so they can connect with us and gain the benefits of the rework program. Different groups, different needs. Elderly, vulnerable remain as one group. Children missing out on the education. Schools are now, schools are running from homes now, and I'm sure there's a lot of agencies, a lot of teams have already solved a lot of issues for families. So well done to everyone. But this continues to be a challenge. What are we doing? Technical support. We have got a good tech team. I believe I've got good tech skills as well. Access to device and internet. Although you have a device, it doesn't mean you're still in the technical world. You need to have internet. That's another challenge by itself. So trying to solve both the needs. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, 5 minutes to go. I will shut up. Hold on, let me see. No, I've put my details in the session, and I will try to stop my share and open myself for any questions or comments. Sorry for the rush, guys, but I know in the interest of time. Yeah. Nyoka, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thank you, Vincent, for the information you've shared with us. It has been very informative. And yes, if you'd like to share your slides with me, I can pass it on to anyone who needs it. Vincent's contact details also, along with Sam's contact details, will be shared in our email back to you. Anyone, any questions for Vincent? Richard?
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation. The Goan community in Southwest London, another community that I had no idea existed. Can you, and I thought I was quite connected on these things. Can you give us a bit of a feel for the numbers and which areas, which boroughs, how much of it is Hounslow, how much of it is sort of Ealing, Hillingdon, or other boroughs? And I would guess, well, I'm making an assumption that perhaps that quite a bit of it is close to the is people living close to the airport. And then that my offer would be really what is it that you that your group are looking for from other parts of the voluntary sector? What can people here do to help you with your mission?
Thank you, Richard, for the question. Well, first let me answer. So the Goan community, predominantly from Goa, as I mentioned, they have used the Portugal route. Now you will see a spike, interestingly, in the last 1 year. This was mainly because many families have traveled from Goa to India. Many families have moved from Swindon to, sorry, what am I saying? From Goa to the UK, especially using Southwest London. And many families moved from Swindon to Southwest London. So the breaks, I do not have the high level figures yet, only because the movement of the people continues. Okay, in fact, I'm trying to connect with the council to get the same figure. The figure is quite mixed because they fall under the Portuguese category, which means that although they may be Goans, but they'll be part of Francisco's group, if you know what I mean. You know, from personal conversation with families, etc., and the community, I know that the figures are as high as 3,000 families plus. Okay, that's what we are talking about here. From an impact point of view, 80% of them are impacted, full stop. And how do we know that? That's because at the food bank that we run every weekend, at the emergency help, the various groups which are supporting, 85 to 90% are the Goan communities. You know, the 10 to 15% are highly skilled people who have moved along as well, and they have moved to different parts of the UK, so they are well covered. But within Southwest London, 80 to 85% are semi-skilled or unskilled communities who are dependent on Heathrow or you know, those kind of companies. And as such, the impact is very, very high, Richard. The third question you asked was what help you need. At this minute, I'm asking for any kind of employability, any kind of on-the-job trainings. At the same time, any kind of job opportunities where we could use the local knowledge, the local know-how, the local community. So one of the projects which I'm running now, and I'm really, really hoping that it is launched soon, is you know, most of this BAME women, they've come across this talent, which I say that a lot of talent in Hounslow. We are launching our own mask and own bags and all those kind of things. Maybe, you know, communities, businesses could buy from us, you know, maybe with their logo on. This is where you're creating a job for these people sitting in the house, you know, they are earning per piece, you know, and it benefiting the society and saving the movement of people as well. So Richard, I will connect with you. And yes, of course, Lisa has mentioned, Lisa has also been connecting with me to encourage sports within the community. Football, Francisco, football continues to be at the heart of the Goans. You know, they love football. They enjoy their football games, and that's something which is also at the heart, plus swimming and all those kind of things. So Richard, I'll connect with you, Richard, and I'm also connecting with all the other teams as well. So yeah.
Richard, I see a huge population of the Goans present in Hounslow, Swindon, and Southall. They do have their annual festivals. It's a huge community in London where you have over 10,000 people attending it in, I guess they have it in September. So yes, a huge, huge community in Hounslow and closer to Heathrow. Coming back to you, Vincent, I mean, the group, anyone else has any questions for Vincent and would like to connect with him on the employment opportunities and trainings he's provided? Like to have a question now?
I think I owe an apology to Saranjit before for Saranjit and I, we are trying to connect with each other. Saranjit, I apologize. I know we
That's
kept missing each other. So before you say you want to connect, I know I missed it. So I'm sorry about it, but I will connect.
no, I just wanted to say I am also very much aware of the Portuguese and Goan communities as well, because I am supporting a lot to the Goan community for the food banks, because at the moment there seems to be the biggest hit as well, due to they came with a big desires that they will live near the airport and the jobs as well. At the moment, husbands and wives don't have the jobs, and they're basically really struggling with the food and everything. So because I also support we support any and Sunshine support any and every community. So I am quite aware of the Goan community, and we are also in our area. We are supporting them with the food vouchers, with the art and craft clubs, with the health and mental and physical activities as well, whatever we can offer. And we are always 24/7. We are on the phone counseling them as well, supporting them, whatever their needs are. With you, Vincent, I will catch up with you. We would like to expand your services in our different areas as well. And we would like to work with you, as I mentioned before as well.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sharanjeet. We would now, if there are no more questions, we'd leave this forum open for a discussion. Our topic would be navigating the post-COVID employment landscape and discovering opportunities there. Today, we've already touched up on quite a few, right from COVID-related issues to employment. But if we would like to discuss any other topics related to it, and we're open for that. Also, we're inviting people as speakers. If you have projects that you're working with within your organization, if you would like to speak at the event, please send me an email and we'll set a time for you.
Wonderful. One last thing I would like to say is, I know there's a lot of videos out in the different languages and all that. I think word of mouth through the organizations make a lot of difference to the communities. So we would like to have more, I think through the council, if we can train the organizations more about the vaccines and the effect, and also because people are refusing to have a vaccine, we would like to have some sort of training through the organizations. The people can encourage the communities how to come across the fear of the vaccine. It's very important.
Yeah, that's something that we've been working on. It's been on the news every day, and we're seeing a huge huge group of people not taking the vaccine, which we waited for so long. So we're putting up resources for that. We encourage you to please take the resources we've put on the site, share some resources with me so I can add it to my site, you add it to your site, and try to reach out to these communities, help them. A lot of them are unaware, and through word of mouth, they're hearing all the wrong things. So let's pass on the right information. A lot of information in local community languages are put up on the site, which I've shared to you on my emails. Please use those resources, and if you have some more, share those with me. Anyone would like to talk about? Yes, Lisa?
Just want to talk about the employment situation. So I had a friend, I know of some people that use forced to use agencies because English is their second language and they can't get a full-time job. And what seemed to have been happening is the agencies really put these people, only give them a short, it's not even a contract, but 3 weeks here, and then they move them to another job and they move into another job. It's as if it's so they can control them, so the people are not able to get a skill in one particular area of expertise because they're moved around so much. And then also with fear that they might be offered a job as well, like a long-term post. So I think it's kind of, it could be a tactic from job agencies that you know, the unscrupulous ones. And obviously it's 0 hours contract. There aren't any employment really rights. People don't really know what their rights are if English is their second language. I've just kind of picked up on that, and I'm thinking that might be, you know, a tactic that they're doing, because they could literally be doing like, but particularly men, they could be doing like a few weeks in a care home, and then they'd move them onto a construction site, and then they'd move them into a kitchen to, you know, to do like these jobs that you don't really need any like skill for, but then the people can't gain skill, and then they can't train because they're doing such long hours because the wages, the rate of pay is so low. So I think there's just this vicious cycle that needs to be like identified and looked at and tried to have a solution for.
Thank you, Lisa. Sam was mentioning there were some options and opportunities that NHS was offering recently, where they were not even not going through a detailed screening apart from, you know, the last 12 months. I'm thankful that that information was shared on this platform. And a lot of us who have people we know of who are looking for opportunities, we can reach out to WorkWest and see how we could, you know, get support there. Vincent, you put your hand up there.
Yeah, I think just to respond to Lisa, I think, yes, Lisa, that vicious circle of agency workers and you know, some of the rogue agencies using, that is exactly how, that was one of the catalysts which led us to set up the Beehive, because the lion's share always remains within the agency. You know, the worker or the agency worker would never enjoy the benefit of the of how many hours they are putting in. So for example, right, just for everyone's argument, if 15 okay, so if 15 pound is given across from the client to the agency, out of that 8 to 9 pounds is retained by the agency. You know, a small fraction is then given out to the employers who are already working, and the tactic is, of course, to keep them for 2-3 weeks and then move around or give them a week's break, because that helps them within the laws of making sure they don't turn into perm staff. You know, they play between the lines of agency workers and when to change them so that they can benefit. I'm not saying that's wrong, but that's the model which has been going on for so many years. And you know, surprisingly, good companies which are around Heathrow, like for example DHL, Do&Co, Kune and Nagal, they have been using these agencies. So I'm knocking, rather than talking to the agencies, I'm going through those clients and saying, why are you encouraging that kind of bad behavior? Give us a chance, give one of these, you know, the CVS, or give the Beehive or somebody a chance where it's a non-for-profit. You know, the Beehive is a not-for-profit. We want to support the community at large, and the lion's share goes back to the actual worker. It benefits the community, and you're getting good people as well, and plus you're also helping with the social impact. So let's see, you know. But yes, I completely on board with Lisa's comments on that.
The only question I can ask you is, how can we have a coordination, whether it is apprenticeship in Ealing or elsewhere, whether it is from Beehive, what coordination can we have so that the way we lobby, like you lobby, and then we can take people into employment, whether it is wet agents, whether it is apprenticeship, because this girl, the lady was speaking in the morning when we say, is there a direct employment? I don't think there was answer coming there. But what you are seeing yourself as Beehive on the ground, people needing job, people don't have any other option than looking for survival at the moment. People are now looking for survival. They're not looking for something else. They're looking for survival to have, you know, incentive into their, you know, life when they can come out of this. People, you know, there's emotions in every household now. Now, me and myself, I'm a disabled person, but the way I see now, what is coming ahead from the people I know, the normal people I know, is that these emotions now has become a disability. Everybody is angry. There's despair. There's fear. You know, when these people, you talk something, if they say today we want to go somewhere, can you please direct me somewhere we can get unemployment? It's very hard to say no. It is now going to say very hard to say that person, I don't have somewhere, or let me give an about, let me look for you something. It's very difficult. That relationship now in the community relationship is going to be very, very difficult. So as a community, can we have a hub where maybe if we have, they got maybe some opportunities they can pass to the other people, where and vice versa, vice versa, through our emails here. If you say this job, where we can circulate, where you can see people, to have, their first score sheet for job opportunity, please.
If that question is for me, so all I can say is I agree. At this minute, whatever jobs we are getting, we are sending it through the community, right? So, we have, for example, some of the options which we get from Hounslow Council, or some of the options which we get directly from a client, we are sharing it within the community. So that's happening. But one of the points you mentioned is, I agree with you. People don't have an option at this stage. The lobbying that I'm doing, I was not trying to use the word lobbying, but you are right. It's lobbying that I'm trying to go back to the council saying, give us a chance. This is what we have created as a society where these rogue agencies are working. Most of these rogue agencies, in order to compete, we need people like us. We need people like the Beehive or somebody who can go out and say, this is a non-for-profit. Why are you not using them? Why is the lion's share not going back to the individual who's working 8 to 10 hours, slogging themselves, standing in the cold, picking and packaging? It's a difficult job. It's not an easy job, but still, so yes, I agree. And I'm hoping that I do win contracts. There were 3 contracts that I was really, really heavily working on, and I had 95% chances of winning, 90 to 95%, but the new lockdown destroyed those contracts. I had to put a hold on them. If I had to win those contracts, I had an opportunity of recruiting more than 75 to 80 people on all those 3 sites. Being a non-for-profit, we just want to make sure the lion show goes out. So I'm not saying I failed, but at this minute, I'm taking a step back because of the new lockdown. Once when you get back, we are running on volunteers. If they get money, if somebody is earning some money, they'll be happy. It automatically solves a lot of challenges in the food bank. My personal view, the food bank shouldn't exist, but we are existing because there's a need, and I hope that need is never there, right? It's quite sad when you see those families reaching to the food bank, But if they have the money, if they have the means, there should be no food banks at all. But that's, again, I'm a dreamer, Sean Lennon. I hope so.
Thank you, Yusuf and Vincent. Richard, you put down an organization that's looking at supporting those who've lost employment during this pandemic. If you could share that with those who've not read the chat yet.
Yeah, I've put some links in the chat there to it's the Hounslow Council's employment and skills work. So I think it's under the Work Hounslow website, and also this thing called a skills escalator. So that's something they've been working on for a few years in terms of trying to upskill people who are in low paid and insecure work, helping them get the skills to be able to get better paid and more secure work. And that includes offers from Hounslow Adult and Community Education around particular skills, including language skills. So there's quite a bit of stuff available for residents in Hounslow. I can't comment on the other boroughs, but I put those links in the chat there, and I'd urge people to look at that. I was also trying to look for something that Hounslow Council has a priority of giving is trying to give more contracts for work to local enterprises, local small enterprises, so that public spending stays in the borough, and so the value of the Hounslow pound. So I was trying to find the link about how businesses, and I'm thinking Beehive would be one example, would register for that sort of priority. So there is lots in terms of regulation of these rogue employment agencies, I'm not quite sure. I don't know kind of where. I imagine there is no regulation.
There's no regulation, Richard. There's no regulation. That's the reason they're enjoying this.
Yeah. So whether what can be done about them, I'm not sure. But yeah, yeah.
I think in order to beat them is to be in the market. You know, that's the only way they'll go out. You know, that's the only way they'll go out. There's no other way. You know, bring whatever regulations, they'll always find a. That's what we learned, and we did that last year. As soon as we found out this, you know, I spoke to most of the agencies myself. You know, I've contacted them. I'm sure others have done. It's a vicious circle. But Richard, thanks for that. If we can get on that, I've tried competing for some of the contracts, and I'll be very honest, they are. You know, yeah, but I'm not sure which website you're talking about. I've used the public sector procurement website. So let's see. I'm not giving up, and so is BIF. So yeah.
Vincent, can I ask you a question, maybe which is outside the topic?
Yes.
This, you know, this protective clothing like BP.
Yeah.
Do you know where one can get access?
Yes, I have. Yeah, yeah. We can speak. Yeah.
Yeah, please, if you, I think, are they going to give us later this document, your document, then I can find it.
Yeah, I can put my, and I'll put in chat as well, my contact details.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Richard, Vincent, and everyone. Just wanted to share that this forum we have is to connect all of us, where we can actually come out and share what each one is doing and how we can support each other. It's been wonderful having everyone here sharing, encourage more people to come out and speak at the forum, tell us what you have to offer and how we can connect with each other and support and become one big community. If there is something else anyone would like to discuss today, since I think we're very close to our time to say goodbye, is there something else, a pressing topic that you'd like us to take on for next week, or something that we some topic that we'd like to discuss? I think we also have Hamas here.
Yeah.
Or, if you'd like to tell us about the project that you're working on, I'll let him do his introduction himself. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Just to introduce ourselves, my name is Hamas. This is Hamza. We're medical students from Imperial. And so one of the small projects that we've been working on is making a few posters to dispel myths about the COVID vaccine. And we've specifically been targeting the BAME population. So how we approached this from the beginning was that we went out into the community, the Acton community that is. We talked to people, see what their opinions were about the vaccine, for what specific reasons they were apprehensive about having the vaccine. And so using all that information, we did a bit of research using government guidelines and all the resources that were available to produce 2 posters that dispels myths and clarifies any misunderstandings people had about the topic. So like I've said, we produced 2 posters, and we were wondering that if anyone would be interested in sharing this throughout the community. Now these posters, we've only made them in English, but if we do send it to you, we'd be more than happy for you to edit these and translate them to any languages you wish to do so.
If it's all right with you, we could show you the posters as well, just so you guys understand what we've done.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
This one. Right. So. Yeah. So this is the our kind of one problem that a lot of people had with the vaccine was they just don't know what's in the vaccine. So this is us. We've gone to the government's assessment of each of the vaccines and looked at all the ingredients of the vaccines and tried to explain what they have inside so people understand what they're taking. And hopefully, because there's a lot of myths about what's in the vaccine, and just try and make sure that everybody understands that, you know, these are safe things to have as well.
And we can appreciate that some of this is quite technical language, but we have tried to translate it into a definition that a layperson would understand, and it's for those that are interested in this sort of stuff. And so we've also produced another poster. And so what we've gone through is we've talked about how vaccines normally work. One thing we found is there's a lot of misunderstandings about how a vaccine actually works. And we've also talked about how the Oxford one and the Pfizer one work specifically. And we've highlighted any issues we think that people might have with those vaccines. Another issue was that people were surprised with how quickly it was developed. So that's something we've also addressed. And we've also given data showing that why the vaccines are effective, and have also provided further links that people can go to for more information.
And again, if anybody would like to, would like it, I think we'll put our email in the chat if you want to contact us to get this for your community. But we'd like it if this could reach as many people as it possibly could.
Thank you, Hamas and Hazma. This is brilliant. I would like to put this up on our site too, so if you could send this out to me. If anyone would like this information, they can have it from the site. I will share the link with you. And we already have a lot of information in different languages, but I don't think we had the actual ingredients or the components which made up the vaccine. Thank you for that. Is there anything anyone else would like to share before we close for the day? Okay, thank you
I'll put a link into the survey mic in the chat, so it'd be grateful if you could give us feedback about the session and also any ideas for future sessions. So next week we're looking at loneliness and isolation, but if you've got ideas for other topics you want us to cover, then you can put them in that feedback survey. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and have a lovely day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.